want the fans out of their seat. We want to score goals. We want to get them, momentum on our side. And then on the flip side is when we don't have the ball, we got to be dogs.
And we're live. Welcome everyone to the Afterburn Soccer Show. The scenes. Logan Farrington with that opening goal, just a beautiful control of that ball, amazing ball over the top, and Logan doing what Logan does, which is score bangers. He had a couple of quiet weeks for us, so it was amazing to see him start hot right out of the gates in a huge match as FC Dallas go on to win the rivalry match, the Texas rivalry, a 4-3 victory over Houston, the lowly Houston Dynamo. And all right, our crew is still kind of making their way onto the live stream. Take your time, Colin. Drive safe. You're a national treasure, so drive safe. Well, we're excited to have you all join us. I know Chris will be joining us too, but of course I'm Nathan. You can follow me at Afterburn Soccer. Our buddy Jose, longtime buddy at El Chico Carmona.
What's up?
And Colin Coover at Mr. Coov, joining us from softball practice or just after softball practice. And we'll have Chris Winters at C Winters also to join us in a few minutes as he gets squared away. But we're excited just to talk. Apologies for the Tuesday night. We typically go Monday nights, but I think we'll have to shift around this season as the schedule shifts around and life and all that fun stuff. So appreciate whether you're listening to us in the audio version wherever you find podcasts, or you're joining us live or rewatching the stream. It's nice to have you with us. And we're in a good mood. We're in a good mood again. A big time Texas rivalry win against the unlikable Houston Dynamo. Although, I don't want to spend many words about them, but we can talk about them. They were actually better, I think, than what I had expected. So a little credit to them for having some talent. I think that Guillermo is an interesting player who can do some things. So, all right, fine. But FC Dallas took care of business. It wasn't always pretty. At one point, they were down 3-2 after Logan Farrington's opening brace, and then just some meltdown. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But then Petar Musa, the Moose, was loose. He came on in the second half and really set up the two scores, the go-ahead goal. The first one an own goal, and then the second his a goal that just a beautiful cross from Valiente. So much to like about this performance. Let's just do game reactions first. And take the temperature of the room. Jose, we'll start with you.
I'm excited. As far as Houston being better than we thought, I don't think so. I think that their 3 goals had more to do with FC Dallas panicking after that blunder by Kaladi and Houston basically taking advantage of that. And it's just a reminder that while I think this team is a playoff team, they're not so good that they can have mental breakdowns like that against teams that they should beat. There's a very fine line separating them from the middle of the pack teams, and just you saw that just 5 minutes, 3 goals, and you go from being up 2-0 to 3-0, and other than those 5 minutes, FCD pretty much dominated Houston, as we thought they would. But like I said, Houston just reminding us that, hey, FCD is not so talented that they can afford to take minutes off. They have to play the full 90 minutes and into extra time, because it's the fact that they're playing as a team in their preferred system that's getting them the results. They're playing in as a cohesive unit. But the minute something goes wrong, there's quite a few holes on this club, and if they're not on their P's and Q's, they can be taken advantage of. But otherwise, I'm pretty excited. I think we saw this team uh, has. I mean, even though they were down 3-2, at no point did I think that they were out of the game, and I think that's something we haven't been able to say about FCD teams, where even though you're down, you're certain you have the firepower to come back and get those goals back. And we've seen it 2 weeks in a row now. So I'm very happy with that. I'm very excited with the direction this team's headed in.
Good. We're just doing game reactions as FC Dallas beats Houston 4-3 at home in a big one. Colin, you able to offer some initial thoughts as you drive?
Yeah. So I'll be honest. Like Jose said, I don't think. I think Houston was a little bit better than I expected, because I had their bar very, very low. And I personally think just Guilherme is their whole offense. I mean, the man had, if he's not on the ball, Bogusz is invisible. Ponce has done absolutely nothing since he came to the league. And Nowley, who's a winger, is having to play in midfield and somehow get forward whenever he can. This is a Houston Dynamo team that is not built well, and they're relying on a 30 to 31-year-old Brazilian to pull the strings for their team. And he looks amazing. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to discredit him. He, as a player, is fantastic. I think he's a great signing for the Dynamo. But it's like Jose said, I think the meltdown, or like the 3 goals in 4 minutes, that's more of a just mentality more than anything. It's not quality of the team or anything like that. It's just mentality. And something this season is, while you do see that they're fighting as a unit, they don't seem as aggressive as last year, in my opinion. They're more united as a team. They're more wanting to fight for each other, but more being aggressive and everything else. To me, from the stands, they got bullied a lot by the Dynamo players Sunday. They were able to dominate possession and play the ball and everything, but physicality of the game, the Dynamo, which they're a scrappy, nasty, dirty team, FCD, you would think it'd be a good toe-to-toe match, and I think they did well to handle them, but at those 3 goals and that mentality from the mistake from Colodi just caused a massive collapse that thankfully they got under control, and thankfully halftime came. You could see about the 41st minute, they started to get, back on the ball and started to get more traction and more possession and be able to attack. And those extra 6 minutes at halftime looks like we might score a third and equalizer. It hurt to see the halftime whistle, but it was great. We were able to make that adjustment for Musa at halftime, which was needed. I liked Benjamin getting on the field, but he definitely took some time to get used to on the field. I don't know if you throw him on in a derby match where we need a goal to, give him his first couple minutes, but I've been wanting it for weeks. I literally called it last week. I was like, Quill, give me Benjamin minutes, and he gave it to us. So that proves to me he watches the podcast. But I mean, we came out in the second half and did what we're supposed to do. Sviatchenko had to take a professional red card, really, to keep them from having basically a 33 full-time advantage and just risk it. And they weren't able to hold on. And you could consider Dallas lucky, but it's a deserved result. It's 100% deserved. We deserve to win that game. And we dominated that game. I love how Houston fans are saying because Ponce went for a bicycle kick and hit one of our players that got a goal called off. The reason the goal went in anyways for that 4th one in the first half was because literally our players stopped playing after the whistle blew, and then the ball was put in after the whistle blew. So they don't know what they're rambling about. But memes were shared after the game too. It was a really good game. And I think, we called it. It was going to be a high-scoring affair. We just didn't expect Houston to put up any on the board. And so it happens when you have a collapse of mental mistakes. And if you don't get it in check, it shows how drastic a team can lose control of a game, whether it's 8-year-olds, 12-year-olds are grown-ass men. So it's one of those things where FC Dallas has to get the mentality back. They have to be able to learn from their mistakes. And you're going to make mistakes. You're not perfect. How do you overcome them and keep pushing? And that's what Krill talked about a little bit in the press conference. I don't know if we'll get to that or if that's part of the clips we're going to watch. But yeah, that was my analysis for the game.
Chris, welcome to the show. Glad you got things sorted. I mean, just your reactions to this win. You're hearing what Colin is saying. I mean, I was going to talk about the meltdown a little bit more, but we're already talking about it. That was probably the only downside of this game. Was those 4 or 5 minutes when things just unraveled for a bit. Overall, how do you think FC Dallas took care of business?
Yeah, no, sorry about that. My wife decided to hide my headphones right before the podcast, so that's good. No, I mean, I think my main takeaway from the game is it felt like a domination in a lot of ways. You take out 4 minutes from Houston, and it's a 4-0 ball game. Dallas has, I think, just showed in this past game that they are capable of being one of the best teams, I think, in the Western Conference. But then you do have the stretches like the 3 goals in 4 minutes where, one mental mistake causes a barrage of other mental mistakes. And, this Houston team just took advantage. I do like how Kuv mentioned, luck kind of being involved. And I think, some people think, oh man, that Dallas win just kind of lucky. You guys lucked out that y'all, we went down to 10. And I look at it and more so say that I think Houston was lucky to even be in the game because Collodi had probably one of his worst matches that we've seen from him arguably ever just in that one stretch. But, even then he makes the save in the 90th minute and secures the W. So I think overall I was pleased with the scoreline. Obviously a win's a win and, they just have to clean up those mental mistakes. I think that's a growing pain with every team early on in the season. Some people look out the fact that they have a full squad that's, some, 3 or 4 DPs and, we just have one and we're a growing pain, but, we're putting it together. I wasn't too displeased with that.
Yeah. Plenty of takeaway. I mean, plenty of signs that this is a team still, still, figuring things out still, and of course having Logan Farrington get the start. When we saw that, some of us, our hearts sank a little bit just because of how good Musa has been. But credit to Farrington. I said he was benched, for a couple of games. He hasn't gotten the minutes. He started great, really hot this season. Has sort of struggled a little bit then, or just been frustrated almost. It looks like. Just to come out and have a touch like that, just to be so lethal, and then even on the second one, get a Herman Johansson assist, which we've been waiting to see that from the Swedish international, who's getting called up too. Just lethal. That's what we know Logan can do, and I think, already this season, how many goals does Logan have? Is it 4 or is it 3?
3.
3, yeah.
I mean, in last season he did what, 5? I mean, I haven't looked back at that, or 5 or 6. And he wants to surpass that, and to be this early in to already be picking up some goals like that. It bodes well for him to try to get to that double-digit marker that he really wants to. So many positives, and that meltdown. I mean, that was the piece. And hey, Todd Chadley's got a comment for us. I'll get to that in a little bit here. That 3-goal meltdown, bad luck, mistakes, or what? I think I hear it all from you guys, and I think that's all. It's all fair. I mean, the first goal, the Collodi just makes. He's getting a little cheeky with it. Perhaps he's going to Nolan, even though I think Osaze is wide open to his right. He could have also maybe booted the ball just downfield, which sometimes you do, but I think he went for the Nolan because Nolan is playing so well, and his passing is so dangerous. So you want to get the ball to him, but just didn't wait the pass right. Just not enough, and just one of those poor mistakes. Second one, set piece goal, not necessarily on Collodi at all. Really, just poor defending from FC Dallas. Just a moment of concentration, and then the third one, which was a sick pass. It was just a filthy pass to deal with, and Herman Johansson gets turned around. He was spinning like a turnstile, and then Collodi couldn't close down. It just a nightmare scenario, those 3 goals. So what I'm hearing from you guys, no one is overly concerned, is what I'm hearing from all 3 of you. No one's panicking about that or about how many goals we've given up so far this season. Anyone?
No, I mean, I think aside from this game, I think we've looked pretty good defensively. That second goal you mentioned, I don't think it's on Colodi because I forget who jumps up, but like he's completely unmarked in the box. Like that's just a defensive breakdown. Like that's something that I think we need to continue to work on is set pieces. Obviously, we've never been great at defending them, so I'm not super worried. I think overall, I think we do really well. I think maybe it's sometimes troubling when we're a little bit more offensive minded and we want to make sure that our guys are getting back and not allowing that third goal to happen. But I think it was just 2 goals that you're just like, okay, those are not going to happen. Get out, mistakes when you can, and have them in games where you win by, scoring 4. So.
Well, I want to get to Todd's comment here. What did we learn about this team? Because I do think that was one of my points. He asks, is Valiente going to become a real thing? I'll hang up and listen. Hope you can stick with us, Todd. But that's my big takeaway. Is I think even though I listened to Matt Doyle anyway, the Soccer Wise podcast, and I'm blanking on the other guy, former MLS guy. Their podcast that they're not so high on Valiente. They think Valiente is just the guy, he's a good squad player. But I think in a short amount of time, he's he's not incisively breaking down space and making these deadly runs, but his passing work in this one, I think he set up Johansson on the first, the second goal, the assist. And then the assist to win it all, it's just exactly the kind of service that Musa needs. And the way Valiente has just come on and locked down a spot, he's a good signing. And we didn't spend an enormous amount of money to get this guy for FC Dallas. So I don't think they're expecting him to be a Lucho Acosta or whatever, a Mauro Diaz. But if he can give up an assist, a game, I mean, wow. And for what the team paid for him, it's a super good signing. And he really fits, I think, the motor, the feistiness of this team, too. So that's one thing I say I have learned. I don't know, Chris, anything else that you guys think you have learned after this rivalry win at this point of the season?
Well, my take on Valiente is I mean, you can't help but notice his nonstop motor. I mean, that guy's run. I mean, into extra time, that guy was still running. I that guy doesn't stop. He's a dog. I mean, it's one of those players that Quill wants. He wants more guys like Valiente, and then you pair him up with Kaique, who can match him energy wise, and that's why you're seeing this dual 10 formation being used more. I mean, I guess we'll see if they can use that formation once the heat kicks in, but I think they can. You just have to have the right people to sub in when Kaique and Valiente's legs start to wind down. Benjamin is one of those guys. Benjamin to me is basically Kaique last year. We got Kaique. He had a ton of energy. He was. I mean, no one claimed that his game was great. He just was running all over the place, creating havoc. Look, he might have been lost half the time, but it was all sheer will and recovery and just everywhere. And I'm seeing that from Benjamin. I think Benjamin is Kaique from last year. Very raw, tons of energy. So you've got 3 energy guys, and I think you got the rumor that Santi Moreno's coming.
Right.
I think he's coming to support that dual 10 formation. I think he's going to be playing as your other 10. It's going to be him and Valiente, and then you've got Kaique, Benjamin coming off the bench to provide that late energy, or they can be part of a rotation. I think Quill knows he's onto something, and I think the main formation will be with Farrington and Musa up top, but we'll see this secondary formation when one of those two guys isn't available, and I think it's smart, and I'm happy to see the team building into it.
Yeah, that's a good nugget there for Tom Bogert reporting talks to sign Santi Moreno. There's a little drama in this guy. I mean, from how he exited Portland, but talented guy, a lot of pretty solid assists while he was with Portland. And I think some fans there were a little disappointed to see him go. So really interesting, especially if it's just a loan with purchase option. Yeah, Colin, what did you learn? What have you learned about this team so far?
Well, I learned that if you watch the games, you realize Valiente is a key piece to this formation change with the 210s underneath, because his motor, I mean, this kid, he's running everywhere and he's triggering the press. I really like Kaique playing as that 10 also, because he also triggers the press, and Musa's already been pressing. Could you close the double doors for me? Yes. So he's always been. I'm at Taco Bell right now, guys. Relax.
Let's go.
Gotta get that quesadilla and beefy 5-layer after a game. But not so we like Kaique for me and like Valiente. They're both very same but different. They're both very good defensively with the press. They're able to track you down, and I mean, look at what they did to the Houston defenders. They caused them to have to play over the top, which benefited them once or twice. But that's really it. And I look at this team, and I'm going to play off Jose. I agree with what Jose said. I think it's one of those things. Moreno, he can play wingback to where if we don't want to change the Kaique, like the midfield four, I guess the 2-8s being Ramiro, Capis, and then Kaique and Valiente underneath. Moreno can play left wingback. He played that left wing spot where Anthony and Mora played up top. He can play that left wing spot to where, say, if Bernie is having a really bad run of form, he could lose his spot at left wing back too, or cover in case of injuries. But I agree with Jose. I think it's going to be that 10 underneath. And then, like we've seen already, Ramiro's been benched once. If Ramiro is having health issues or with him getting older, we have Shaq as a dual captain this year. So it's one of those, the leadership's there from Shaq to where we don't lose that leadership role with Ramiro being gone. So it's one of those where Kaique might fit into that Ramiro spot and play in a more, what he has presented his natural box-to-box 8 position that he played for Ramiro. But also I think Kaique is going to be one of those players that develops into a true box-to-box, but also more defensive-minded 8 almost, if you want to say that way. But looking at this team, if we add Moreno, like Bogert has said, and from what I've heard, it's pretty much all but done. He may or may not be here. But it's one of those things where, like we said, there's drama around him. The main drama was all the extra shenanigans with the Portland front office. He used that as leverage to try and get a payday, and he was very undervalued if you look at his salary for his numbers and what he did for Portland. And he wanted his money, and when Portland said no, he just basically was like, all right, cool, I'm out. And they promised him to basically be the lead player for that team, and when they didn't give that to him either, he was like, all right, well, you've lied to me twice, done me dirty, I'm out. And he forced that move to Fluminense, which, when he didn't do well, funny enough, they signed Lucho Acosta to replace him at that 10 spot. So it's one of those, it's kind of funny, we sent them his replacement, and we're just going to get Moreno back. And if the money's right, it's about the same amount of money being spent as we sold Lucho for, from what I'm hearing. So it's one of those where it's very much not a like for like, in my opinion, but very much a DP for someone I think is going to play better in our system in Moreno. And if and when that happens, it's so much fun. It's going to make this team way better. It's going to be able to make the press even faster because he's already pressing. He's way quicker. He's almost like a Castillo pace type of player. If you haven't seen him play or forgot about him, and he's so. I think he's going to elevate our team and our game way better once he arrives.
And just to add to what Coop's saying is, he's a proven MLS player, so he won't have a learning curve that we normally get associate with a new player coming in. This is a guy who knows the league and will come in and will be able to provide minutes immediately.
It's exciting news. I mean, it was not. I thought this roster was pretty much set, and we know we have the open DP slot. So that's the other question that's kind of hanging out there is Santi Moreno. Is he going to take a DP?
No.
Level?
I think
hopefully not. I mean, I think if he does, then we're like, is this really the answer? But if he doesn't, because actually he has a green card, that's also clear, so he won't take up an international spot. so it just becomes another tool, another piece, more competition. It's exciting. I mean, and maybe, I mean, can he play on the left? Can he play a left wing back? Is he going to push Kamungo? Are we I don't know. I think we're going to have to wait and see kind of if this works
It's an
out.
area need. So
Yeah.
I think he'll provide a lot of minutes for this club. So I'm excited about it. I honestly I wasn't expecting such a good signing. Late into the you know at this time of the year, you're expecting basically some guy that's going to be like an emergency center back or emergency midfielder, someone along those lines. So color me excited about the fact they went out and got somebody who could potentially be a key contributor for this squad if things roll in the right direction.
I did want to add one thing, just kind of while we're talking about a little bit of formation stuff. Obviously, we started out the season running that 3-5-2, and in the past two games, we went to a single striker up top. Are we, with Logan playing as well as he is, just obviously from this past game, and then potentially moving forward, are we wanting to go back to like a 3-5-2? If we do, that kind of takes away that dual 10 that we're kind of having going on right now. It changes the formation idea a little bit. But also, another thought to this is FC Dallas kind of posturing, assuming that Musa might be gone at some point? Maybe they kind of realize, like, there's so much talk around him right now, like he's going to have a good World Cup more than likely. Like, it's almost a foregone conclusion potentially in their minds. I don't know what you guys are thinking about that, but that was just something that kind of came across my mind today.
I think so.
I posted that in one of the chats too. Yeah, like that. Are they prepping just in case? Yeah, that Farrington is, the starting striker. They need to have a couple of wingers. They shift the formation so they have that flexibility. But I don't know.
I'm glad. I'm glad we talked about formation because forgotten in that whole Houston red card thing is the fact that FCD actually did switch to a third formation, and it looked like they were running a 4-4-2 after the red card. So keep in mind, with the addition of Moreno, it does actually allow them to play that formation more going forward if they want to play a 4-4-2. So I'm glad the formation was brought up. I think the dual striker formation is going to be our primary, and the formation that they've rolled out the last two games, that's formation they're going to roll out when they think that the team they're playing is vulnerable to the press. San Diego, for all its talent, showed they were vulnerable against the press. Houston was vulnerable to the press, and so I think it's going to be a situational formation that they roll out with a dual tens. But I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing more of that 4-4-2.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Interesting. Well, one of the next questions I had here was, man of the match. Who would you say is the man of the match this one? I mean, I think we gave it to Farrington. I think he was the official, and with 2 goals, and then also really earning the second yellow on Shevchenko, I believe, for that put Houston down to 10 minutes. Kind of just a clutch performance. He didn't go the full 90, but at the same time, you can argue, right, that Musa just comes in the second half and he's just a force of nature. And just the way he took a team that was, again, other than that 4 or 5 minutes, was already playing pretty well and looking pretty dangerous, and they just went to another. It was like those poor center backs for Houston. I mean, he just owned them. He just owned them. So does that make a good man of the match? A guy who's going to come in and just completely kick the game into another gear that you didn't even think was possible. I don't know, but I'm fine with Farrington as the man of the match in this one. I think he deserves that credit. Just a fun question since Musa is such a difference maker over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree that it's Farrington. I mean, the 2 goals and drawing the red card. I mean, that's your MVP right there. I mean, Musa, yes, he comes in and you can make an argument for that because he is the reason that they won the game at the end. But honestly, it's got to be Farrington. He did the most damage. And Musa, by the way, it's exciting to see him on fire right now because I think we saw in the first couple of games where he was getting upset because players were passing him the ball into the box and were taking their shots instead. I remember seeing him yelling at Kamungo and Kaike and those guys for not passing him the ball. And now that he's hot, now you're seeing the team basically when your lead striker is on fire, you can't help but try to get him the ball. And I think this helps the team. Him being on fire, getting the players and the rest of the team to basically be so confident that if they can just get him the ball, something magical will happen. And you're starting to see that. I think the entire team's uh, confidence in the attack is growing right before our own eyes.
I did want to jump in and say real quick, I am just like Jose. I had Jose as my, or I had Farrington as my, man of the match.
Oh, I was like, me? Man of the match?
Yeah, actually, Jose was actually the man of the match for me there. No, but in all actuality, Musa does have a shout to him. I think if Farrington doesn't get that second yellow, drawing that, like, there's more of a conversation, just because Musa, if we think about it, also was somewhat responsible for the third goal because he stays on side, makes the run, goes down, ends up getting the ball into the box, which ends up being an own goal. But like, 2 goals theoretically for him, obviously the one, like, I don't know, like it's so close, but it's got to be Farrington. He deserves it. Like, that was such an incredible touch on that ball that Shaq had over the top. So I would definitely give it to him.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. It's got to be one of those. Like, Farrington gets us started hot, and I mean, like Chris said, you can make the argument, but I think drawing that second yellow um, gives him like that little bounce above Musa. Obviously, Musa's little involvement in the third goal won't go on the stat sheet um, with it being an own goal, but it's one of those things where um, you look at that, and it's one of those. I think Farrington also, comparative to Musa, had a better game as well. And they play a little bit different if you look at them. When Farrington's playing, he's kind of like dropping in, and when he did, Valiente would go forward more into like a center forward role with Logan playing underneath to make a run. Um, and that's something that like a little bit different with Farrington and Musa is Farrington can also provide. Musa drops deep and deeper to make late runs in the box, whereas Logan's more of a combination, quick passing type of like a deep lying forward. And I don't think he got enough credit on that. He's also going to get credit for his brace, but he deserves the credit as well in the build up for some of the goals as well and for the chances we had. And that's why for me, I think Musa, or not, sorry, not Musa, Farrington gets that gets the nod over Musa in my opinion as well.
Well, one of the things that I mean, good stuff, guys. I think one of the fun things about it too that Matt Doyle also pointed out is that this was the first game in some time that FC Dallas outpossessed their opponent. We got the stats here from, I think, Footy Mob. Shout out to those guys. But yeah, I mean, 16 shots, 55% possession, 6 shots on target, 10 shots off. Just really good. Other than losing the corner battle, just XG in good shape. Just a fun little marker that we take for granted. It's not the end of the world for FC Dallas the way they play, but is something to think. We know this team is going to need to, in those games where they either need to grind things out or they just are going up against a team that doesn't want the ball, that they need to show that they can do something with it. They can shift the ball around, get in dangerous spots, and create opportunities. So it's not just kind of sitting back a little bit and trying to press and counter. So good signs. I mean, I think it's one of the things that was fun to learn from this team and see in action. So I know our mood's positive. Let's keep that rolling. Of course, we're going to shift really quick right now just to talk about. Go ahead.
Hold it before you shift.
Okay.
I just wanted to do a little shout out to how tough the FCD schedule has been this year. Of course, we got the win over Houston, but Did you know that there are 3 undefeated teams left in MLS? Can you guess what those 3 teams are? LAFC, Nashville,
Nashville,
San Diego.
San Diego. Yeah.
Only 3 remaining undefeated teams in the league. FC played all 3 of them. 2 of those teams are the number 2 and number 3 attacks in the league, and the other one is the top defense. And I think we're getting a sense that this team is just beneath those teams right now. I think we should get excited at the direction this club is heading right now. And honestly, it's still a team in progress, by the way. So not a finished product, but to go toe to toe with those 3 teams and come out looking good, and then drop 4 on Houston. Just wanted to point it out that this team's off to a really hot start for compared to previous seasons.
Yeah. By the way, along those lines, I was going to pull it up, but if you look at our friends at 615soccer.com, they're covering primarily Nashville, but they have put some really cool tools for those stat nerds out there on their website, including a live power ranking, MLS power ranking that kind of crunches a particular performance index. And right now, based on FC Dallas, they have about 10th in the entire Major League Soccer. An OPI of 18.75, whatever that means, what it means. But with the tag that we are right now, statistically, a contender. And fun, cool little website, cool little tools that they have there. I threw it in the chat. Check it out later. It'll be fun to see as that kind of shifts and changes. But the underlying stats agree with you, Jose, that FC Dallas, we played a tough schedule, but have also shown some really good things. And so, hey, let's ride this. Let's ride this where we need to go. Speaking of teams that have been tough schedules, let's kind of turn our attention for a few moments to North Texas. They traveled down actually the same day. I put the score line really weird on this little thing here, but anyway, they got blanked by Dynamo Dos 2-0 in Houston. We did our predictions last week. We all felt like maybe a loss or a draw was on the cards. I was hoping for like this team just to put some pieces together after really just a weird game in Austin. But and while the first half wasn't bad, I mean, North Texas sort of hung on. They got in the way of a Houston Dynamo 2 team that is a very good team and is actually also undefeated. So Real Marnox, who North Texas played to a draw in Salt Lake City, and then Dynamo Dos, 2 undefeated teams. So also North Texas has not played an easy schedule per se, as this new group of guys have started to build some camaraderie and some rhythm, as well as you had some senior guys getting minutes, including Alvaro Augusto, and so you can be harsh on this one. Just disappointing that they couldn't get anything going, but second half really Dynamo 2 just kind of took over, got their 2 goals. A tough one for this team. Chris, what were your thoughts on this loss on the road?
Yeah, I mean, I think, Houston, just looking at them on paper, probably, there's a very, very strong argument that they're the strongest team in the league. Obviously up there with a St. Louis City too. Undefeated, haven't been scored on yet. They have a lot of talented players. And I think when you watched that game, it was one of those scenarios that it just didn't feel like we ever got anything going necessarily. But I mean, to hold them to 2, I thought they played pretty well overall. They did make some changes. We got to see Ricky Lewis. We got to see Sam Seta. We got to see Augusto, Enzo. They all got their first starts. And then Mr. Flowers got his debut as well, subbing on there late. But I think that's kind of the the thing that we even talked about last year is like just figuring out what this team does offensively. Obviously, Nice is incredible and he continues to look great, but how do we get some of the other guys to get going? We didn't have Simmons, and that obviously looked like it hurt a bit because the offense looked like it needed a guy like Simmons out there. Natty James hasn't been super great, as I think a lot of people thought he would be. I thought, myself, I thought he was going to be better just overall. It's still early, but, I think the biggest thing for them is just figuring out kind of what formation they can use to best utilize the players that they do have. Because if you are going to get a guy like Ricky Lewis down there a lot, maybe try and run him at like that left forward if you stay in the 3-5-2. Let him get more forward and see what he can do with like a Nick Simmons out there, while also keeping on Torquato and Contreras. But yeah, I mean, overall, I think going back to the game, Houston was kind of in control the whole time. It couldn't have gone, a whole lot worse, but it definitely could have. They could have given it 5 or something. So I was okay with the performance. They're still learning. It's still early. I'm sure you guys, might feel the same about it, but be curious.
Yeah. Our first chance to see Rick Luis get some minutes. Yeah, Jose, your thoughts?
My thoughts is that Houston Dynamo 2 are an excellent home team, one of the better home teams in the league, and I'm not yet convinced that they're going to be, a top team when it's all said and done. We'll find out here. They played 4 games, and in retrospect, this was their last home game until July. So this was a must win for them. And they played that way. They played it with urgency. Now they go on a 10-match road trip. That'll tell you if Houston's really good or not. It's one thing to win at home. I mean, let's face it, North Texas has 1 win this year. They've only played 1 game at home. They dominated 3-1. It's very big advantage to play at home in MLS Next Pro. So we'll see how Houston comes out after this road trip. I think we just saw that North Texas, is still a work in progress. They're still, they're not quite sure. It's still a team meshing together. Where I think Houston's more of a, they're set. They're set. They're a team that knows what they want to do, and how to do it. North Texas is still figuring that out. They played Real Monarchs, another team that already knows what they want to do. So yeah, I picked a 2-1 loss, if I remember correctly, to Houston. I thought Houston was going to win, and I said the only reason I would change my mind is if North Texas used that height and got several set piece goals. Yeah, they couldn't do that. They had 0 corners, and they only had like 2 crosses into the box. When you're that big of a team, you have those size advantages. Their backline is small. I mean, then just go route 1. You should have just been kicking it over the top and forcing them to try to defend the height. But I think we saw that there's still a lot of work to be done, and I'm not giving up on this team. I mean, I think they got a lot of talent, and we'll see once they get a couple more home games under their belt. Maybe they'll build some confidence off of that.
Yeah. Colin, any thoughts you want to add to that?
I mean, I also think that, Dynamo, they came out with a little bit different game plan compared to normal. Still using their pace and taking advantage of that and trying to play through and direct, and it worked. I still think, despite giving up 2 goals, the back line looked solid. Had some errors, obviously, but that's something that I'm really excited about with North Texas. Is in the past, it's mostly been a really good attacking side and a good midfield. We haven't really seen a really good defensive side of North Texas, and since the League One championship win. Because you look at the games we played when we won 2 years ago. It was a lot of high scoring and just trying to outscore the opponent rather than defending from the opponent. So it's one of those for me. As a defender and someone who does defensive coaching, I love seeing a good defense, especially in these lower leagues. A better defense is going to outshine a electric offense 9 times out of 10. in these lower leagues. So the fact that if we can keep that defense up and keep it confident and build it stronger like we are, we just signed another left back that can play left center back as well. I believe he's left-footed as well, which will help. We don't have a left-footed defender except for Torquato. So it's one of those things for me. I think it's going to help this team a lot in the structure of the team, or like substitutions wise, or say Torquato gets another red or something like that happens. It's something that we have a good depth piece now as well. And that was my takeaway. Again, I think like Jose, if we took advantage of our size, would have been a different outcome. We just didn't have the opportunities to take advantage of it throughout the game. So.
Yeah, nice shout out there. The signing North Texas announced today. Leandro Gonçalves, left-footed defender. Yep, play across the back line. Not a huge guy, 5'11", but definitely a sign that this team sees a need for some depth, some competition on that back line. And hey, long season ahead. Why not? I love when they go out and get these guys a 2-year next pro contract with the club option for the third. So good stuff. It'll probably be a couple of weeks before he gets here, but another solid signing for North Texas to build around as this team comes together. And I think that's the big takeaway, is just still, I've asked Gall about it before in the past, that the challenge of coaching a team like North Texas is you have a group of players who are North Texas players, and you invest in them throughout the week, and you have a game plan, and then the first team coach calls up and says, "Hey, I need Enzo Newman to get a start. I need Augusto Alvaro to get a start. I need Ricky Lewis to get a start." So, and you can't exactly go like, "No, I want to play my guys." So suddenly you have to bring in some guys that may not be as familiar, and I think we saw a little bit of that. Although the midfield was a big problem for me in this game. I think the formation shift was a little confusing, and the midfield really struggled against Dynamo's just press and speed and physicality. Just a lot of turnovers in the midfield. It was just tough to get anything going when you don't. And they missed Nicholas Simmons. I think Simmons, his hold-up play is a really big piece of what he helps with this team. But on the other hand, big picture, it's an away loss. That's going to happen in every league. It's a young team. They're still figuring it out, and they've got some games ahead to do that. Also on break this week with the international break. Well, last topic, I think is international break. I'm just curious for any of you guys, like any FC Dallas has 8 guys out, getting minutes and opportunities. Some of our young guys, of course, getting called up. Diego Garcia, one of them, but as well, of course, Petar Musa, Herman Johansson, Dietzen. Are there any of those storylines that you're watching carefully, you're planning to watch carefully over these next couple of weeks, with, of course, World Cup looming in the not so distant future?
Petar Musa, man, I'm all in on him. I hope he has a great camp for his national team, makes a squad. I hope he balls out. Any player that comes through Dallas and gets sold off becomes an ambassador for this team. And seeing Musa basically use his play in FCD to make his case to, be back on his national team, a damn good national team at that says a lot. And I think it also helps recruiting in the future when you can say, hey, this is a good place to come. We're willing to move you after a couple of years. We won't hold you hostage. We can be a stepping stone towards getting back in the European picture. I think that's a message that will sell well with a lot of players. So yeah, I'm cheering for Musa. I hope he does great, and I'll be keeping an eye on Johansson too. Also, if he gets any minutes at all, I think he will, but we'll see.
I was just going to say that, Sweden's got that game on Thursday, so it would be interesting to see if he gets any sort of action at all during the game, which would be cool.
Yeah.
I'll be watching Dietzen to see if he can actually play soccer or not.
Yeah. Well, and he probably will. And watch him score. Watch him bag a couple of goals.
I I need it. I need a revenge arc.
I know Herman Johansson, like, for him to get that assist, because the previous game, just not his thing, not a great game. But so this one, to have that assist, I'm sure it picks up his confidence, and it's going to be a fight for a spot on that Swedish team. I'm also watching Nolan Norris. I just really think him getting minutes right now with the senior team and doing some really good things. I just think, it's just a good chance for him to get with the U21 some more minutes there, keep building on this confidence and come back. I think we're going to see, we have the potential to see him really just mature in these next few weeks if he keeps getting regular minutes. He's just going to get better and better. I'm really excited about his call up.
This weekend, I'll be cheering on my forward Madison Mingos, who have 4 North Texas guys on their roster.
JT Harms.
JT Harms started at goalkeeper in their most recent game, which they defeated One Knoxville, handing One Knoxville their first home loss in USL League One, their first loss ever. The winning goal was Roman Torres to Turner Humphrey for the winning goal. So that's North Texas to North Texas connection. And the team just re-signed Eddie Munjoma. So four guys that'll probably be starters, or at least big time contributors for the squad. So I'm pretty excited for a slice of our North Texas pipeline, making it all the way up here to Wisconsin.
Yeah. Well, that's fun. It is fun to see these players all over, of course, and our classy guy Sebastian Leggett, who now is up at Monterey Bay FC, and they're building a whole new stadium or something. Oh no, I'm getting that confused with Sacramento. I'm saying, something, and probably his girl investing in the club, like fun stuff.
Why didn't you sign him to Orange County, man? Come on, you dropped the ball on that one, Nathan.
I made some phone calls, but yeah, it just didn't work out. But yeah, good stuff. 8 guys for FC Dallas, North Texas, getting call-ups, including Ran Benyamin, who I thought that's good. It's just good to get these guys out. It just increases their profile. Increases the profile reputation of your club to see how many guys, and not just U.S. youth, but all over. It's a good thing. I think it's a good marketing piece for FC Dallas to entice talent to come in. So, all right. Now I think it's a different Roman Torres. Right, Jose. We're not.
No, he's from the academy. I don't think he's a North Texas guy.
Yeah. He's not the Afro Roman Torres from Seattle. That is not that Roman Torres.
No. This Roman Torres is from the academy. He's like I don't think he's signed for North Texas at all. He may have gotten some minutes through the academy, but I'm fairly sure he moved on.
All right. Well, we're going to leave it there. It's a great show. Appreciate you guys taking the time to having the flexibility. Now, next week, we may not do a show just because won't be a ton to talk about, but we'll wait and see, because if signings happen and, of course, some of these international, appearances happen, we may want to have some things to talk about. So stay tuned to the website. Of course, working on my next, hopefully, interview with someone from North Texas pretty soon here. So, just a nice little pause before we get into the meat of the schedule for Major League Soccer and for MLS Next Pro. And, of course, Dallas will be on the road. Well, maybe we should look ahead to that DC United game 2 weeks if we don't have a show next week. So maybe before I wind things down, FC Dallas will be traveling to DC United. Fun fact, it's random that I even know this, but like my daughter is a senior in high school, so she is graduating and she's gotten into a variety of schools, and so I've been researching and looking at some of those schools, and I just happened to look at one in DC, and there was a student promoter who got on to their subreddit and said, that FC Dallas game against DC United. It's DC United student night. It's $20 for a ticket and like $10 concession coupon or whatever. It's like,
That's
a
awesome.
good deal. That's a good deal. But that's gonna make it a potentially pretty tepid crowd for a DC United team, other than maybe their striker. I guess they've got a couple of guys very beatable for FC Dallas, in my opinion. I'm sure you guys agree. I don't think we're super scared, but it's always tough to go on the road and play in a place not your own. So let's do some match predictions on that one. I don't want to get greedy. I think road games are always tough, and Audi Field in DC is a nice little venue. I think DC is going to fight, but the way they've had a little bit of success, but the way they've been dismantled too by some teams, I think the potential for Musa to take care of business is quite promising. So, I'm not going to get too greedy. I'm going to go a 2-0 away win for FC Dallas.
All right, I'll go. I think it's going to be 2-1. I think it's going to be close. DC at home, they're tough. They're a lot tougher at home than they are on the road, and I think it's going to be. I mean, honestly, it's probably going to be a draw, if I'm being honest. But I wouldn't. I think FC Dallas has the ability to get that late goal. So I think it'll be looking like a drawish game, but FCD pulls it off late, 2-1 on the road.
Yeah, good. Thanks, Todd. I forgot about that. Brandon Cervania's in DC now.
I'm going to go 1-0 road win, FC Dallas. I think it's going to be low scoring. I think Musa gets one and adds to his golden boot tally.
Colin?
I think it's going to be a 2-0 win. I look at this, the DC team, and they're very beatable. Horrid defense, weak midfield, Ty Baribo up front. As long as we contain him, we're fine. They got old regressing Sean Johnson in goal as well. And let's not forget how horrid he was for Toronto last year at times. And DC is a team that last year, when we were in the thick of it, or was it 2 years ago, we were in the thick of it, one of the seasons, I can't remember last year or the year before, where we were expecting to lose. And we won, was it 4-3, 4-2? We won big in DC either last year or the year before. So why not replicate it again? I think DC got way worse this year, even though they signed Ty Baribo. They haven't really built around Pirani, and he kind of flopped compared to what they wanted from him to be the centerpiece. So they're having to basically rebuild. And they're just going in circles. So we should be able to capitalize with how good we are and how well we've played, and walk out there with a comfortable win, or a result of some sort.
All right. Well, good. All right. We're looking into the future there. Well, appreciate Jose, Colin, Chris. Thanks for your time tonight. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Todd, for all the comments. Appreciate everybody who watches, listens, who subscribes to Afterburn Soccer. Got a new subscriber today. So grateful for that. It helps us do some more things and plan for the future. That rivalry win. It's a good one I've watched the highlights already a couple of times. I'm just like, let me feast on this for a little bit until we get some more action in a couple of weeks. But appreciate all the support, everybody. Of course, follow us at afterburn.soccer and find us where you find podcasts. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.